that mentality sitting down within inside of ourselves, starting to believe in who we are and our abilities, putting ourselves in a place where we utilize our focus, knowledge, and discipline as a reflection outwards. So a lot of times we go through challenges. A lot of times we're seeking to see if we're truly qualified, if we have what it takes inside of ourselves, if we have what it takes inside of our mentality, inside of our ability. And a lot of times that's really the only thing that we're facing off against is our own minds. We're facing off against our own abilities to be who we are on the inside, to be the person that we want to become and the person that we want to achieve. So let's go ahead and start studying that. Let's start getting into that mentality where we start utilizing that ability inside of who we are. So like today, for instance, I went to a park and I sat down and did meditation. And one of the interesting things was that it was very cold, but yet there was the sun out. And so as you see the sun outside, as you see the ability around you, you see the ability inside of you, you start to recognize that it's inside of your mentality that either tells you that it's cold or warm. So how could we start to use that so that we could focus through our challenges? How could we start to put ourselves in a place to where we can enjoy the time even when it's difficult, even when we're going through things, even when we're looking to overcome the things that we're going through on a daily? And so as we sat there and we were doing meditation, as we sat there, we started to recognize that the energy from the sun was actually coming through. The actual warmth was there, but it was in the mind that we were stopping ourselves, that it was in the mind that we have to see through. And it's with when you're sitting there and you're truly sitting inside of yourself and you're starting to enjoy the place. Sometimes we forget that joy. We forget that joy because we see the heat. We see the cold that's going on around us instead of really seeing what's inside of us and really enjoying the ability to be in the time and to be in the present and to be inside of yourself and to really start to utilize the energy. So sometimes we have to soak up that energy. Sometimes we have to sit there and just be like, okay, let's go ahead and enjoy this. Let's get down to that level inside of ourselves where we're utilizing what we have inside. And are we doing that on a daily is the type of questions that I would ask you today. Are those the types of things that you're doing on a daily basis? Are you giving yourself that ability to have that kind of a focus where you can truly enjoy the moment, where you can truly enjoy the part of who you are? And so as I'm sitting here, as I'm looking, as I'm reflecting back, as I'm looking at how to utilize that kind of a time, we recognize that every moment is special. Every part of your being is special. Every part of who you are, every part of your vibration. And so how do we start to utilize it? How do we start to put ourselves in a place where we can utilize this in our daily? How can we use that place to focus to the point where we can truly have that kind of confidence, where we can believe in our qualifications, where we can believe in our abilities? How can we start to put ourselves in a place where our mentality starts to open up? You see, it's not always easy. You see, it's likened to being in a tunnel. Are you going to stay in the tunnel or are you going to get up and walk? Are you going to believe in your ability and your gifts inside of who you are and your mentality that you can actually achieve the dreams that you want to achieve? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how we can start to utilize that, how we can utilize that observation as the highest level intelligence, my friends. And it's when you're able to observe the skills, the challenges, the things that you're going through, the journey, the path that you're on, that you have the ability to utilize your mentality. And so a lot of people stop themselves before that even becomes possible, before the top in their professions. You know, there's a lot of people that watch on different platforms, including Twitch. So what about in your gaming? Or what about in your ability in your professions, your homes, your relationships, to elevate your mind to that place where you're utilizing the ability that you have inside of yourselves? You see, I sit here daily. I put myself in a place where I focus to the point where I utilize this. A lot of people ask themselves that question, how do we start to do that? How do we start to put ourselves in a place where we can believe in who we are? And what the part of that question is, focus to the point of observation. Focus to recognize what you already do, the things, the gifts, the challenges that you face off against on a daily basis. And so how do we start to do that? Have you sat down and written those things down? Have you sat down and started to recognize the skills, the gifts, and the challenges that you're facing off against? And a lot of times we don't see ourselves as qualified when we truly are. When our mind is in a place where we give ourselves the ability and the permission for us to be who we are. And so when do we start to study at that level? You know, have you taken the time to create a foundation within yourself to believe in who you are, to believe in your ability? And it's on a daily that we face off against this. It's from the moment that you wake up. Do you make your bed? Do you put yourself in a place where your mentality, what type of things are you putting in your system? What kind of shakes are you putting in your system? Are you in a place where you want to have a strong diet? Asking yourself, is your mind strong? Is your ability inside of who you are believing in you? You see, a lot of us, we ask this type of a question. We ask, how is it possible? How can we get to that place to believe in ourselves? You see, the question that we're asking is, in other words, do I believe in myself enough to focus with the gifts that I already have? And you see, a lot of people on the outside see that, and that's why the things that aren't meant for you have the ability to move out of the way on their own. But you got to be willing to grind. You got to be willing to get to that page inside of yourself where you recognize who you are, where you recognize your mentality, where you recognize your ability to be who you are. And not a lot of people are not going to recognize you when you are being yourself, when you are utilizing the universe. See, a lot of the people who gain that place, gain that ability inside of themselves, and believe that they can do it, that they can achieve it. It's when those people start to be compared against. And it's when that kind of message inside of ourselves is utilized, where we focus to the point where the universe has the ability to utilize the gifts that we have inside. And so I'm being asked a question here on Periscope. So go ahead and ask your question there. And so how do we start to utilize the gifts that we have inside of ourselves? We got to recognize that when we utilize focus, okay? When we utilize the ability inside of who we are, when we utilize our mentality, when we utilize our abilities inside of our focus, inside of our beings. You like the number 15, 41, and 44. Anyways, back to what I'm saying. The number sequence 25 and 27 don't match. Okay, so when we put ourselves in a place where the mentality side of who we are has the ability to utilize understanding within the universe, when we utilize this place inside of our mentality, when we utilize this place inside of our ability, then the opening within ourselves opens up. Then the opening within our being starts to vibrate outwards. And so a lot of people stop themselves from that ability, okay? Because they're not wanting to believe in who they are, okay? But I'm telling you, on a certain page you have to get yourself up. It goes to something like this. Maybe the guru inside me wants to teach right now. So I'm going to go ahead and share this story. There was a certain person who sat at a tree. Sat at a tree for many days. They woke up at night. They saw the moon. When they saw the moon, they noticed that it shined. When it shined, it showed the light in darkness. So can you see the light at the end of the tunnel within yourself? Can you see the ability inside of yourself to pick yourself up even when darkness is going on around you? This is how we do that. We see the light inside of itself, and we give ourselves, you're welcome to call in for an energy reading. I am doing energy readings while I'm doing mentoring and mental ability for focus, knowledge, and discipline. But I am definitely giving energy readings available here too. And so sometimes we forget that even in dark, we can find the light. And so it's like into a tunnel. Where you're inside of the tunnel, you might have emotion, you might have fears, you might have things, and it might be a little bit sore to get to the end of the tunnel. But if you give yourself the mentality, if you give yourself the ability, if you put yourself in a place where you focus to that point, where you truly start to believe in yourself, then the universe has the ability to get you there. But if you don't get up, if you don't put yourself in a place where you enjoy the moon, where you enjoy the darkness that's around you and you become the light within you, then the universe doesn't have anything to pull from within you. What does this say, my friends? What does this story say to the person who enjoys the moon? Why isn't it the sun? Because even in darkness there is light. But when you see the light inside of yourself, that's when it matters the most. That's when the shaking inside stops and the belief in oneself begins. See, what I'm talking about is a story of understanding one's being. I'm talking about believing your ability. I'm talking about recognizing you have a purpose, that you have a path, that your journey is worth it. And when we start to focus to that level, when we start to give ourselves that ability to where we start to understand that we are not always going to have it easy. Okay? It's when you see the light in those challenges where you start to turn those things that are not working for you towards positivity. When you start to believe that you have what it takes inside of yourself. And it's a daily task. It's a daily part of ourselves. And so as I was sitting there, even though the weather was not saying so, the sun was still there. The shine within the sun was radiating within. And so what ends up happening is you start to understand that when you're sitting there and you're absorbing and you're allowing what's going on around you to not allow it to affect you, then what goes on inside of you overcomes the challenges. You see, it's inside of our being. You hit that right on the point. One of the Periscope people asked me, what am I? You bet it. I'm a Pisces. And so when we put ourselves in that kind of a place where we start to hit the mentality inside of ourselves, and the question that I was asked, are you a Pisces or a Gemini? Okay, let me go ahead and share the focus, the knowledge, and the discipline that comes here. When you're outside and you're putting yourself in a place where you're overcoming your challenges, it's not what's going on around you. It's what's going on inside you, okay, that matters the most. It doesn't matter if the environment that you're facing off against is hot, is cold. It's what goes on inside of you that matters the most. And that's why a foundation and focus is so important. Because when you utilize your mentality, when you start to utilize your ability, when you start to utilize your being, when you start to utilize your very vibration, the universe has the ability to yield. Okay? And it's amazing how we see these people who are willing to focus to that level, achieving high levels of success. And, and why do they not want to share with people that aren't focused? You see what I'm saying? When you're driving yourself to that place, people want to help you. When you're driving yourself, when your mentality is in a place where if you can't find, if there's not a way, you're going to make a way. Okay, when you're that determined, when you're in that kind of a vibration where you're unshakable, when you truly become that place within yourself, then your vibration starts to radiate outwards. And you see, on motivation, meditation, inspiration.yoga, it's my website. You can see my Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, Instagram, and my almost 1,000 followers on Discipline 101, which is my Facebook page. When you start to see these people, you start to see these kind of vibrations, you won't be surprised when the yield comes back that I'm so focused that it's possible. But look not just at me, my friends. Look inside of yourselves. I've already passed 5 hours inside of a sauna when they said it was impossible to pass 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. So we first have to find the foundation. So if you're going to ask more questions, you're welcome to call in and ask those questions. I'll give an energy reading here, but I'm going to continue to answer that question. So do you have any advice for being stuck in your own thoughts? Okay. So life is like being a student. Okay? When you see that student and you see that teacher inside of you, when you start to see that student, okay? In school, we write stuff down. We listen to things. We put ourselves in a place where we focus to the point where we become that. When you allow that part of yourself, then it starts to flow. Then the ability inside starts to open up. And so when we are stuck, it's because we're not using the skills and the gifts that we have inside of ourselves. So the question would be, where is the root of your focus? Okay? Are you focusing your energy into the places that are bringing you that kind of movement? And it's interesting that we call the word emotion, because energy in motion, E standing for energy, motion standing for movement. So if your focus isn't moving you forwards towards your ability to be a positive force in the universe, then what is it bringing you towards? And so the answer there is negativity, yeah? So you got to see yourself in that way. You got to see your ability. You got to see your path, your purpose, your very journey. And so when you have things like that that open up, write them down. Put them in front of yourself where you can see them, how you can start to turn them positive, how you can start to overcome your challenges for yourself, that you can truly embrace your being, your vibration. And each of us has one. Each of us has a part of who we are that we're asking the universe to open up. See, that's why when you allow the things that are meant for you to move out of the way, that's when the mentality starts to open up. And that's when the ability inside of yourself, and with that you have something to work with. You have something to not stay stuck, to not stay stagnant. And when you start to recognize that you need to start moving in that direction, you got to move towards positivity that brings you closer to yourself, brings you closer to your ability, brings you closer to your vibration. It's so interesting. A person goes to a place and starts to search for cars. So first they don't know the car they want to get, or they see the car. They don't know the way. And so they go to the place to get the car. As soon as they have the vehicle, they look all around them and it's already there. This says that you can use that same by rewinding that to the place where you are already there to start to understand yourselves. See, focusing is the ability to put yourself in a place as the student that you are. You already are on this life's goal. This universe, it has much to yield to the one who's willing to work to that point. The one who's willing to overcome their challenges. The one who's willing to believe in themselves. And each of us have that ability inside of who we are. It's only when we put ourselves in that kind of a place where we give ourselves the ability to have those kind of challenges to see the positive and negative forces in everything in the universe. See, that's what I recognize the Most High God wants for us. He wants us to be blessed. He wants the universe to be in such a way that we have the ability to utilize this thing. I'm without understanding of how people don't see how beautiful this world is, how beautiful the gifts of this being, of this process of being a human being is. And so when we start to see it, when we start to utilize things like what Einstein understood, okay, the guy created a massive piece of destruction that was so massive that it took universal understanding. Are we seeing at that level? Are we seeing at that kind of understanding within ourselves that we start to want positivity to become a part of us? That we can see the universe and become friends with that part of the universe. See, I grind on this. I put it into the mind, into the vibration, that you might be uplifted by the mentality that I am talking about. The ability to put yourself in a place where you start to believe in you. Where you start to believe in your ability within yourselves, within your focus, within your knowledge. And so how do we start working on that first piece in finding a foundation and focus? How do we start putting ourselves in a place where we start to believe in who we are? We start to believe in our abilities. We start to get those positions that other people would not be able to get because you're gifted. You see what I'm saying? And I'm talking to everybody across the face of the planet, no matter where you are. And so, are we using that part of the wealth within ourselves, within our place of focus? Are we allowing those types of things to move out of the way? You see, a lot of people, they see me grind on this. They recognize that I'm sitting down, that I'm putting the focus, that I'm putting the knowledge into place. And you can see it in my daily videos. You can see it in the abilities within. But I'm telling you, it ain't just about me, it's about you. It's about your ability to believe in yourselves. It's about your ability to become uplifted. See, when the universe yields to this mentality, when it gives you the ability to be who you are, is when you start to understand. You start to understand yourself. You start to understand your strengths. You start to understand your weaknesses. And each of us have them. Each of us have things that we're working on. Each of us have things that we're putting ourselves in that kind of a place. And so a lot of people come to me asking, how do I meditate? Well, I got news for you. It's when your whole entire being is willing to want it, to let the parts that aren't you die. Okay? When you want to breathe that much, like Eric Thomas expressed it perfectly on point. He said, when you want it as bad as you want to breathe, then you will be successful. Okay, let's go ahead and break this down. Let's go ahead and do some grinding right now. Let's talk about this thing. Let's go ahead and start talking about it. When you are so focused that the things that are not you die, okay? That means they have no place inside of you. They have no ability to stop you. They have no ability to hold you back. Then you become successful. You understanding what I'm saying? People said it was impossible for me to be 5 hours inside of a sauna. They said it was impossible for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 hours later, I'm walking out of a sauna perfectly fine. Okay? What I'm telling you, my friends, if you want to become the top in your professions, find that place of focus where the things that aren't meant for you have the ability to move out of their way. The ability inside of yourself. You might be in New York on your way to a position on Wall Street, or you might be in India, you might be in Peru, or you might be in Afghanistan. Wherever you are, you have the ability to utilize your mentality in such a way to overcome your challenges. But it's until you embrace them, my friends. It's until you put yourself in a place where you truly start believing in who you are. It's till you put yourself in a place where your mentality starts to open up, to where your ability inside of your being starts to become a vibration. And so it's not when other things are facing off against you, it's when you become the light inside of yourselves. Okay? And I'm speaking directly to those people that are asking, how do you meditate? Okay? And it's inside of yourself. You know, when you get your butt kicked, okay, when you're getting your butt kicked, it's what you believe about you that matters the most. It's where your mind lays. It's where your ability inside of who you are starts to open you up. It's what you listen to. It's what you vibrate out. It's expressing yourself for that focus that you have. And you know, it's interesting, I always say about singers, because when you want to achieve a level of success, you got to focus on that level of success. You got to put yourself in a place where you believe that you can achieve it, where you can become it, where you can light up in this world in such a way that nobody else can. And you see, this is my art form here. What you're hearing today, I'm focused to that point. I'm focused to the point where I do this on a daily, where I grind when other people would give up. I don't believe in a day off. Okay, there's times at 12 o'clock midnight, I'm out there putting out videos. I'm posting. There's times when I'm recognizing that what we're going through is that this is the right time always. And so, are you on that page with me? Are you putting yourself in that ability? Are you seeing the challenges that you're facing off against, and are you embracing them? And so, how do we start to do that? My friends, you are blessings. When you recognize the blessing that you are, when you recognize the person that you are inside, the challenges that you face off against, the things that you are going through, okay, the things that are worth writing down, that are worth putting in front of yourself, that are worth reading the books, that are worth spending the time doing the exercise, that are worth finding the diets, that are worth the struggles that you're facing off against on a daily, that are worth paying in advance for, that the universe has the ability to yield to you. And this is the type of grind that I'm talking about today. I'm talking about you. I'm talking about your ability to believe in yourselves to a point where you're so focused that you have the ability to light up in this universe, that the heat is not hotter than you, that the cold is not colder than you, that you are warmer inside than that heat, that that cold has no place to burn you, that the mentality inside of you has the ability to open up. And when you start to become that place and you start to become that kind of thing where the universe no longer has the ability to crush you, then the universe has the ability to yield things to you. See, we want to be happy for others. We want to see them succeed. We want to succeed ourselves too. And so how do we start to do that? How do we start to get to that place inside of ourselves? How do we start to have that kind of mentality and that kind of ability and that kind of belief inside of ourselves to where we gain access to that kind of vibration? Hearing what I'm saying? You manifest from your focus. You manifest from your ability. You manifest from your understanding within yourselves. And it's on a daily that you struggle with this. It's when you start to recognize that when these things happen, I act this way. So how do we focus to turn that positive? How do we take those things that were challenging us and turn them towards our advantage? How do we take them when we start to become uplifted from them? How do we start to take them and turn them positive? Take them and turn them into a way that we start to utilize that part of our vibration. Hearing what I'm saying, my friends? We got to focus to the point where we achieve our dreams, where we achieve our goals, where the things that we go through, we grow through. And a lot of times, the biggest pain that we face off against is the cold outside. Because when we got the heat inside of ourselves to overcome that, the universe is going to test you. It's going to ask you if you have what it takes. Blessings, positive vibes only, okay? Hello. And so, are we there within ourselves? Are we there within our mentalities? Are we there within our abilities, within who we are? Are we there within our beings, within our vibrations? Blessings, blessings, blessings. Hello? Hello, blessings. So, when we put ourselves in a place where we believe in who we are, okay, we're going to face off against challenges. We're going to face off against people that are going to ask that kind of a question. Are you going to stay positive? Are you going to allow your mentality, your very vibration to see that part of yourself? To have that kind of understanding, to have that kind of being within who you are. You see, it's not the person who gains everything that truly succeeds. It's the person who has nothing and is continuing to succeed even when they're failing that gets that extra rep. That gets in the place where they start to believe in themselves. That actually truly picks themselves up and says, I can do this. I can become this. And when we start to recognize that is possible within ourselves, we start to recognize that we have what it takes, that we have inside of ourselves something great, and the greatness is within, that the vibration starts to happen. And you see, when you're that focused on your gifts, on your skills, on your mentality, to where the vibration radiates that of motivation, then other people see that reflection. Now, let's go ahead and talk about how we get inwards. Now you know how to overcome the things that the universe would throw at you. That's when we got to get inwards. We got to find those gifts that we have. We got to find those abilities. We got to find that joy of enjoying the sunlight. We got to find that ability to enjoy the parts, to feel the wind, to feel the purpose, to gain the seed of knowledge within that. Okay? And some of those places might be in singing. They might be in writing. They might be in speaking. And, many other ways. Some people find that in running. The point is to find that place inside of yourself where you could become that student, where you can open yourself to overcome your challenges, where you can open yourself to believe in who you are, to believe in your ability within who you are. And when we start to do that, it is not easy, my friends, to start gaining a place of knowledge where you find the understanding to overcome your own challenges. Okay, it is not easy to get to that part inside of yourself where you connect with your being, where you connect with a human being inside of you. Okay, because the universe on the outside tests us to see if it's possible. It tests us to see if we can feel the wind, or can we feel the cold and not enjoy the breeze. When we start to enjoy the whole picture around us, when we start to enjoy the knowledge within us, we start to get to that page inside of ourselves, then things start to become a little bit closer. The student wants to sit down inside of the classroom. It wants to sit down inside of the art form within. It wants to be who you are on the inside. It wants to manifest it. It really wants to vibrate on a level where it asks you the questions if that's possible. So are we doing that? Are we finding those kind of places that decompress our knowledge? Because a lot of times what we're looking at as emotions is compressed knowledge. Because behind that emotion lays knowledge. Behind that ability lays you. And when are we getting those types of yields? When are we getting the point of the lessons in the lessons? How are we starting to utilize that part of our lesson? How are we starting to utilize that part of our being? And so, inside of oneself is where we need to be. Inside of ourselves lays knowledge. And in that knowledge is the ability to understand oneself, understand one's ability. And when we start to recognize that, we start to work with the artist within. We start to work with the being within, with the seed of knowledge within. The ability that these things that I've learned, these challenges, this life, this purpose that we're on, this ability inside of ourselves to understand at that level, to gain that level of grind inside of yourself, that you can find that capability, that you can find that energy, that you can find that vibration from within yourself. And what I really enjoy about meditation is that when the student is inside of the classroom, the connection of the breath to self-study, the connection of the being to understand how to utilize things like the diaphragm, like the ability to utilize our breaths to be able to breathe, the simplicity of one's being, the simplicity of one's purpose, of one's path, of one's journey becomes available. This very seed of knowledge within yourselves starts to open up. And you see, inside of that place inside, there's a light. It's called you, but it's centered within yourselves. It's centered within you doing the things and being on your path truly. And a lot of times we got to ask ourselves that type of question. Is where I'm going, is what I'm doing, is it bringing me closer to me? Is it bringing me closer to self-honesty, to the person inside, the student inside, to be in the classroom with the teacher, to be honored to be within yourselves? And so this is the reason why people seek out meditation, because it's finding that place inside. It's finding that ability inside of yourself. It's finding that understanding within your being that it's the very essence of joy to be you. And when we're working through things like self-honesty, okay, which is the hardest trait on the face of the planet to utilize, it's inside of that place inside of you that the knowledge opens itself up. It's when you're honest with your knowledge within you. It's when you're honest with the being inside of yourself that people start to see you as beautiful, okay? That's why a lot of people don't understand this inner light thing, because knowledge expands within. It lights up from within. It radiates outwards from within. It takes you giving yourself that kind of a time, that kind of a place. And when you do that, when you truly sit down inside and give yourself that kind of a place, don't be surprised if the people, they see that light. And there will be people that are drawn to you, and there will be people that are repelled by you, because the people that are not recognizing you are not seeing you for who you truly are on the inside. They're not seeing you for the abilities and the mentality that you have, and the focus and the knowledge that lays inside of you. Remember, we are always in the process of being a student and a teacher. We are always learning. We are always growing. We are always working. We are always perfecting our mentality. From the minute you wake up to the minute your very last breath, you're expanding constantly. You're expanding within your being. You're expanding within your focus. You're expanding within your knowledge, within who you are. And are we doing that? Are we truly sitting at that level inside of ourselves where we utilize that part of our being, where we utilize that part of our focus, where our knowledge becomes available to us? And it's inside that we're asking that kind of a question, you see, when we're in that place where we gain that knowledge, where that seed, where you remember the first time you experienced that. The first time you experience that blessing inside of yourself, when you experience that person that is inside of you, that you started to believe in you, that you started to believe in your journey, your path, your very essence. And each day that we do that for who we are, when we believe in ourselves, when we believe that we have what it takes, you see what I'm saying? Are we doing it? Are we truly sitting down at a level inside of ourselves? And so when we have that kind of patience, then we can observe. The knowledge inside becomes an observation. And in that patient place of observation, the highest level of intelligence comes out. This place of observation is where understanding lays. It lays in your crafts, in your abilities. And when your knowledge connects with the universe on that level, you have an expansion. An absorption becomes possible. The knowledge in the universe starts to open itself up, starts to give you the ability to see from more than one angle, more than one ability within oneself. It sees from a universal angle, without barriers, without walls, with knowledge in purity within itself. And so, how do we start to gain that kind of understanding that the first seed of knowledge is important? The first place, the first breath, when we see that we're worth it. See, your light inside starts to shine when you start to become yourself. When you start to be who you are. When you start to have that kind of self-care. That's a kind of self-being. That's kind of self-purpose. That kind of self-understanding. And it's inside of our being that we start to vibrate within that level of who we are. And so let's go ahead and start talking about, with that kind of knowledge, we must recognize the understanding of it, of other people's views, of our own path, our own purpose. So let's go ahead and connect this, right? That meditation, that place that you go to, those things that you do. And so when we connect our focus at such a level that it connects at the path of the journey within our breaths, within our own very essence of our beings, when we gain that place on a repetitive basis, when we gain that place on a repetitive cycle, on a repetitive purpose, when we gain that ability inside of ourselves to where we start to believe in who we are, we start to believe in our ability, we start to believe in our challenges can be overcome by focusing to the point where we utilize our knowledge within, then we start to find ourselves centered at the place of discipline. This is called the seat of understanding. If you seek out that word in Indian, from India, I am talking about the seat of understanding is discipline. It's a centering within one's being to become at a place of centering. I'm talking about a understanding of yourself in your professions, okay? In your companionships, in your being. When you're focused to that point where you use your focus and your knowledge. When your vibration, your very essence becomes centered inside of you. Then you sit inside of yourself. Then you become that purpose of the human being that you are. Are we doing that for ourselves? Are we sitting inside where we are uplifting other people from being who we are? And we each have that place inside of who we are. We have that place inside of our mentality, inside of our ability, where we utilize that being inside of ourselves, okay? Where the purpose starts to radiate outwards. It starts to vibrate from within out. And each day that we give ourselves that place to have just even a little bit of time for you to build your discipline, to build your path, your journey, your purpose, brings you a little bit closer. And I know a lot of people aren't finding that for themselves, but if you give yourself just a little bit of time each day, a little bit of place for you, a little sanctuary where you could find some time for you to be yourself, if you can yet but do that for yourself on a daily, then the ability inside of yourself starts to vibrate outwards. Then you start to believe in your being. You start to believe in your ability. You start to believe that you have what it takes. And it's inside of our mentality that we seek that place, my friends. We seek to achieve our dreams, to achieve our goals, to use our knowledge to a level where we vibrate with that being. And it's only when you're willing to help out other people. Okay? I'm talking about the law of riches. I'm talking about the ability to help out other people with an understanding that the universe, not the person you're helping, the universe itself will yield to you. It will bring amazing things in your way if you're willing to put that kind of work into the universe, to truly become a friend with the universe, to truly uplift other people, to get them to believe in themselves, to believe in their abilities, to believe in their mentality, that they're worth it. And I've seen a lot of people want to take that place from it for themselves. It's not inside of one's being. This is a part of self-service. This is a part of serving your neighbors, serving your community, serving your abilities inside of yourselves, to uplifting other people, to allowing them to believe in themselves, to believe in their abilities, to believe in their mentality. And so, are we doing that within ourselves? You see what I'm saying? We can do that. We can achieve a more beautiful ability to vibrate. We can discipline ourselves to the point where the vibration radiates, where we can start to overcome our challenges, where we can start to be who we are on the inside, where we can start to become disciplined to the point where we can use our gifts, okay? Because each of us on the face of the planet, when we're truly disciplined, can utilize our gifts. Hello, blessings. Hello. Blessings.
Hello.
Oh, so you utilize a lot of your caring to yourself, huh? A lot of the things that you go through have to do with caring, huh?
Hi.
Hello, where are we calling from?
Saudi Arabia.
Blessings to everywhere on the face of the planet. Blessings to Saudi Arabia.
What?
Okay, obviously you cannot understand what I'm saying, huh?
Yeah, I'm not speak English good, yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, you have a green energy field, but unfortunately, I know that our conversation won't be able to continue because language barriers. But I just want to leave you with the blessings, okay?
Okay, bye.
So, when we use our disciplines, okay? I've been doing meditation for nearly a decade. Okay, a lot of people started coming asking how to learn meditation. Okay? It's inside of the mentality that it becomes possible. It's inside of the whole entire being. It's in your focusing at work. It's in your walk. It's in your being. It's in your understanding. It's in your ability to sit down and to start to just put a little bit of time into yourselves. And that's where the vibration comes out. And that's a part of the thing that I ask every day is what I'm doing today. Is it meditation? Is it motivation? Is it inspiration? Is it motivation, meditation, inspiration? If it's not one of the three, I don't want it. Why? What is it that you vibrate into? What is it that's bringing you closer to yourself? What is it that's bringing you closer to your abilities? What is it that you could hear inside of you that would connect your focus and your knowledge, that would get you to believe in yourself, that would get you to believe in your ability, that would say it's possible, that the heat on the outside isn't greater than I am on the inside, that I can know myself to the point where I have self-care, where others will see the reflection of self-love. You hear what I'm saying? There's a level above love. It's knowledge. It's a place inside of yourself where you reach that place of discipline, where you reach that part of your journey, where you find that part where you become that human being that you are, where you are that being within this process of you. And when you start to enjoy it, then other people start to see you. They start to believe in themselves. They start to believe in their abilities. And when we start to do that, we start to create a more beautiful world, my friends. So like I asked myself every day when I was trying to stay alive, okay, when I was trying to just keep my head above water, when I was in a place where everything wasn't working against me, I found right there that the best friend inside is worth it. When you become that place, I started to recognize that other people were becoming inspired by my challenges. They were becoming inspired by my ability to uplift even when darkness was around me. Okay? When we start to pick ourselves up, when we start to pick up our abilities inside of who we are, when we start to believe in ourselves, we believe in our mentalities, we believe in our abilities, then we gain understanding. And when we understand how other people are, we want to uplift them. And through doing so, we can create a much more beautiful world for us all to live in by utilizing your gifts. You not make this world, this ripples within this universe, lighter on yourself. You put ripples into this universe that uplift other people. And through doing so, you find yourself as an inspiration, and the universe will yield ability for you to be you. I just want you all to be blessed. As I close, I just want to say blessings, blessings, blessings. As always, namaste.